Hello, I'm Don Harden, and today we have with us Mr. and Mrs. Dixon, who have been married 58 years. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Dixon. Thanks for taking time to talk with us today. You said you were married 58 years, is that right?
That's correct.
58 years. Just think of that, ladies and gentlemen. These young couple have been together 58 years. How many children do you have, Mr. and Mrs. Dixon?
7.
Seven children. How many are now living?
5.
5 are living. I see. And Mrs. Dixon, what was your maiden name?
Eckelberger.
Eckelberger. That's an unusual name. I believe that's German, isn't it?
That's correct.
German name, Eckelberger. I would like to have each one of you to share with us today something of your family background, maybe your mothers and fathers or your grandmother and grandfathers. Mr. Dixon, would you like to share with us something of your family background? Mrs. Dixon.
Yeah. Oh, where's the story?
Where did your family originate, Mr. Dixon?
You got me there.
You don't sure?
Yeah.
Is Dixon it's not a German name, is it?
No, I don't think so. I don't know what it's
English, maybe?
You know, I don't know.
Let's go on to the next question in regard to something about your family. Where were you born?
In Orange County at West Baden.
West Baden in Orange County. Would you like to share with us perhaps some things that happened during your youth that would be interesting?
Well, oh, I don't know. I just, well, to start with, I was 6 years old when Mother died. Then my dad, he married again. 8 of us brothers and sisters, and then when he married his 4 half-brothers and sisters. Of course, Grandpa, he was a blacksmith shop. He shoot horses and build wagons, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, he plumbered for years down to West Baden, plumbered in the big West Baden Hotel.
I see.
Then he got a sawmill and they sawed logs and stuff for years. And I worked the sawmill and drove team.
Mm-hmm.
Worked on the carried, and then I got a foreign engine when it wasn't done about hauling 11 logs with a team. And then I took my team and helped build the road.
What kind of road are you talking about? Is it a gravel road or?
It was up to 145 now, but it was just the 145 hadn't took the state hadn't took it over, just the county road up through there from French Lake on through there.
What did they use? Did they use creek gravel or what?
No, it was crushed
Crushed stone.
from a quarry.
I see.
Helped grade that road, the wheel scraper. I used team and we built that grade, and then a whole rock from a quarry and put on the road. And then later on, let's see, I went to Louisville and worked a while, and then I got married, 1927.
1927.
And then I farmed a while, and I worked for a mechanic a while, and then I worked for the state for about 16 years. In the factory, and then I went to Curse Wright Airplane Paint and helped there at the mill right there for
Mm-hmm.
Oh, about a year. Run a garage. Later on in the years, retired, just live out here on the farm.
Now, looking back on what all you have said, what do you believe is the most memorable moment in your life?
Oh, I guess when I got married, I reckon. I don't know why.
When you got married, I see. How about when you were in school? What's the most memorable?
When I was going to school.
Mm-hmm. Tell us something perhaps that was funny that happened to you in school.
Well,
Something unusual.
Well, I don't know. This is a funny or not. They was I'm not telling her name, but the guy and a half brother. They tried to run.
Better not.
They tried to run the school, you know. They boss of the school, and so they sat together, and I sat behind them, and so they was getting ready to jump on some more boys, and maybe me one of them, you know. And so I figured that. So I took my pocket knife off and sharpened, you know, and I sharpened on a wet rock just before it quit. And I noticed they noticed me, but I never paid attention because I know the knife needs wetting. And they said, "Why you sharpen that knife up?" Oh, I said I might have to use it on a couple of guys before I got home. And you know, from that day on, they never bothered any of us.
You sure put the fear into them then, didn't you?
Yeah, I was in because when I sharpened the knife, I just thought about cutting nobody else.
But
then I'd go to school, you know, and then when I was off, I'd work sawmill. Work on the carriage till I got about 8 or 9 years old, and then I fired the engine in for the rest of the time when I wasn't home, rolling lumber.
Now, perhaps many of us, when you say the word carriage, many of us perhaps are not familiar with that term.
Well, it's the outfit where they rode logs on. They got big things that dog that logs down together, and they saw the logs, and then when they get ready to turn the log, they take it back, and I'd dog the logs, and at that time I'd have to roll the dogs back. That's the big thing that, you know, that's what I was setting carriage. But of course, I worked on that carriage for, I don't know, till 2 or 3 or 4 years, I imagine.
I see. What about church? Your affiliation with the church?
Oh, I got converted when we lived down French Lick, and then we went up to Concord for several years. And we finally, well, we don't go to church much anymore. Why, I don't know, but so that's getting about the end of it, I reckon.
What about what kind of activities, let's say today, since you've been married this long, what kind of activities do you do, and perhaps that you do together?
Well, right now we just have trust patches, and after sold the Herefords, why, of course I got to run the bush hog tractor to keep it all cut down. Still cut wood and keep home forest burning.
That sounds like work more than activities.
Well, you don't want to quit work, you just drive and blow away. You have to keep going.
So your main activities is work then?
Yeah.
I see. Well, we're going to talk to your wife now and ask her about her families, or perhaps her mother and father and her grandparents, where they came from. Mrs. Dixon, do you have the background on your family, perhaps where they came from?
Partly. The Eichelbergers came from Germany, I'm certain, but I don't know when or
I see.
sure about that. And my mother's side, they come from Ireland, they think. They come to North Carolina back in 1806. And I have the record of them down to where they come and settled in Orange County, right down here towards Valine. And I was born right over in Southeast Township here, and so that generation, I mean, them generations been there a long time.
Would you like to share with us perhaps your father and mother's name?
Jerry and Annie Ickelberger.
Okay.
And her maiden name was Denton.
Denton.
Denton. And she was raised up down around Valine. That was where them first ancestors came.
I see.
And they were married in 1903, I think it was.
Anything else you can think of before we go to the next question?
Well, I have a brother and a sister, and one sister dead.
Let's see.
That's my family. And on Papa's side, he had 10 brothers and sisters. My mother had 5.
Now, Mr. Dixon, of course, shared with us some things about his youth, and I'm sure you have some memories of your youth that you would like to share with us today.
Well, none that'd be very interesting.
I don't believe that.
Back and look today, I don't think they were. But I've done everything there is to do on a farm, I think. Being the oldest child, I'd get out in the fields and work, which I'd rather have done than to been in the house anyway. And my job was milking, and I milked 5 and 6 cows before I'd go to school in the morning. And then had to walk to school. Part of it was over a mile.
You mean you got up early in the morning and milked 5 cows, so you must have got up at least by, what, 4 o'clock?
I didn't pay no attention to time, just so as I got up in time
and then you had to walk
school.
Then you had to walk to school
Yeah.
after you milked those cows. Well, that was quite a day for you then, wasn't it?
Until I was up in the 5th grade, I walked over a mile, and then later on, it's about a half a mile. I went right out here, the next door to school in the 7th and 8th grade. And I still milked the cows the year I went to high school.
Yes, that's right.
I thought Pop didn't know how to milk till I got married.
Oh, I see.
And then he had started.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lordy. I used all kinds of machinery out in the field, but the mowing machine, they never would put me on yet.
Of course, this
But I love to do all that.
was this before we had tractors and stuff like this?
Oh,
or,
yes.
and
Yeah.
we used
Old mules.
old mules, I see.
Had one named Old Charlie.
Old Charlie.
Rode him after cows sometimes. Well, I can't think of nothing else right now.
You know, I forgot to tell you, I worked in a rock quarry.
You worked in a rock quarry.
Yeah.
What area of work did you do in rock quarry? I know there's various jobs in a rock quarry.
That was old steam engine days. I fired the engine, and then sometimes I'd wheel rock into the quarry. And I've done all things that.
No.
And then we had one quarry right down there where the show quarry was, you know, even back in Wallace Circus, you know where that was. Another little thing was kind of funny. I went and took and bought a new mare and a working rider too. When she come to crossroads, why, I didn't know it, of course, when I bought her. I'd got her to say if I wanted to go to the left, I'd got her. She wouldn't go to the left, save her soul. She'd just have a fit, and so I soon learned that whenever I come to a road that I didn't want to go, well, that's the one I'd pull her to, and she'd take the one I always wanted to. I didn't have no trouble with her anymore.
You outfoxed her then.
Yeah. So we got along all right after that.
Oh, that's unusual, very unusual. Mrs. Dixon, we want to talk about also perhaps your most memorable moment in school and out of school. Let's start with out of school.
Who, me?
No, Mrs. Dixon.
No.
You've already told us yours.
That's what I thought.
Well, I don't know whether I'm going to say what he did or not.
Well,
I about gave him up the day we was going to get married. He was about 2 hours late.
uh-oh. We didn't want to get into that right now. I'm sure it would come out later, but since you've started on it, you might as well finish it now.
Well, now let me think.
You asked me why I was late later on.
Oh, gracious.
Fixing a tire.
Uh-oh.
Well, let's see. Well, I always liked it when I was in school. I used to cry every day I'd miss school because I liked school.
You used to cry every day you missed school?
Yes, uh-huh. That's hard for some of my kids to understand.
I'm sure it is.
Me too. I always had a picture for
It
gracious.
was 3 different years I didn't miss a day.
Is that 3 years?
Uh-huh. And my biggest regret is that I didn't finish school
I see.
because it wasn't nobody's fault but my own. I could have went on.
I see.
I thought I was getting smart
I
at
see.
16 and I quit.
So you still regret it today that you didn't
I
finish?
do. I do.
But what was your most memorable moment in school, let's say? You can think back and surely share something with us in that time that, something unusual.
I don't know. It's kind of unusual when that teacher pulled my hair one day.
Oh, that's good. We can share
I
that
was
with us.
whispering too much. I had these long pigtails. Oh, well, I don't know. You popped that question here so quick, I don't know.
About my school, the teacher, he rode a horse all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, to school.
The horse's name wasn't Charlie like yours, right?
It could have been Charlie. I never.
Okay.
But she read reading out late. I had an old Model T, 1920.
Oh.
1934. Ford coupe, and I was putting brakes in it, and it took me a little long. I thought it was reading out late.
Oh, I see.
I had to get them brakes in. I wasn't going to make it up.
I'm sure it didn't have brakes like we have today on our modern cars, does it?
No.
What kind of brakes did it have on it?
Well, this one had 2 sets. This one's the only one that was in the country. They put the drums on the hind wheels and bands, you know, on the drums. It had the brakes inside the transmission too, you know.
I see.
For where the clutch and the reverse is in there, and they had a set of brakes in there, but these are extra brakes on the drum. That's the only Model T that was in the Indiana, I guess, that we put them bands on the back wheels and so. One thing, whenever them bands give out, why, they go to them in the transmission, but them on the back wheel, why, they'd last for years where them wouldn't in the transmission.
I see.
So that's how come out of late.
Did she accept your explanation of that?
Huh?
Did she accept your explanation in that regard?
Well, I guess you had to. I don't know. That's the only one I had to give her.
To out cap it all, Fred Condry, he lives at French Lake. And that's where Ed lived. He come along and told me he was going with another girl out the road. Says Ed's backed out. Says he's not coming.
Oh boy.
I don't know whether you know him or not.
I knew Fred Conrad, yes.
You did? Well,
sure.
he come along and told me that.
And then another thing, Don, on the old car when I was working on the old Model T.
Okay.
I had rheumatism, something in my shoulders, you know, and I couldn't hardly move them. I went to the doctor, and he said you had to live with that. There ain't no way to cure that. And I think they call it arthritis now, maybe, but I don't anyhow. When I was working on that old Ford down there, I got a thing against spark plug, you know, and I know my shoulder felt better. For 2 days I held them, you know, every time I get a hold of them spark plugs. That left my shoulder. It never did come back anymore here about 2-3 years down here, and that's why I learned that, and I knocked it back out again on that old Chevrolet truck I had. So I didn't have to live with that like the doctor thought I was going to do.
I see, so. You just reached in and grabbed a hold of the spark plug on your...
Oh, yeah. after I found out that would do me good.
I see.
If I hadn't got hold of that spark plug, I wouldn't have known it. But when I felt for that spark plug, and I thought, well, I felt better.
Mm.
You wouldn't believe it, but I just took both hands and put this 4-cylinder, and I took tooth plug in each hand. I just killed that old bottle till you let the shot show. And then for a week of that, every time I started up, I'd reach over, and hold them, and I just laughed.
So how many treatments did you take like this?
Oh, down there, I took 4 or 5 treatments, man.
Mm-hmm. So it got better every time you took a treatment?
Yeah, I had knocked out in 4 or 5 treatments.
Mm-hmm. Do you think perhaps a person can get addicted to this type of treatment?
I don't know. When it come back to me here, my shoulder did come back again,
Oh, I see.
Here about 3 years ago, I done the same thing on that old Chevrolet truck I had. It knocked it out,
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I let it go for a while. I had to give it about 8 or 10 treatments, but it took it out.
Oh, great. Well, Mrs. Dixon, we've been trying to talk to you, and your husband has been, of course, sharing some things also along this line about youth and other things. And what's your most memorable moment out of school?
Well, I was just going to tell you, I thought now what that was. And it's the birth of my children.
Birth of the
I
child.
would have hated to ever missed it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very memorable for all of them, but I wouldn't have missed it for nothing.
Mm-hmm. Did you have your children in the hospital, or
They were all here in this room except one,
is that right?
and that was out to my mother's.
Hmm.
I could even tell you where the bed was sitting.
Is that right?
It's been in all corners of the house.
Anything else you would like to add in regard to?
Well, that's just something that I'm awful thankful for, that
I
I
see.
got to have those, and that was
Great.
the most memorable time in my life.
You ought to tell him that it was $25 then instead of $500 or $1,000.
Yeah, we might not have been able to buy that many of it, like it is today.
Of course, we talked to your husband in regard to church affiliation. Perhaps you would like to share with us of your church.
Well, I used to always go to the United Brethren, didn't know what it was to miss a Sunday, and I joined church at Concord, and then later moved it to Prince Lick, and then back to. So I don't go much nowadays, but I talk to the Lord every day anyway.
That's good.
We went to church steady when we were down at Prince Lick over pretty steady.
Okay, we spoke to your husband in regard to perhaps his activities other than, supposed to have been other than work, of course, but all he shared with us was work, 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 work. Now, perhaps you have some activities that you don't consider as, what we call work.
I don't know. Oh, I love to sew. And I made all the kids' clothes till they were through school about.
Let me see.
And I couldn't understand that.
And Daddy used to cut figures out of plywood.
Oh, yes. Craft, where
I
we
see.
made things to put out in the yard. Oh, I love something about craft that I can make. Dolls and doll clothes nowadays.
I see. He shared with
All
us.
kinds of sewing.
I see. Okay, good. Your husband shared with us, of course, one of his activities was cutting wood.
Don't forget.
Does he try to, if I can use the word, entice you to come along and help him in this regard?
Not now, I don't.
But he
used
has in
to.
the past.
Why, I helped get all the wood
Oh.
until just a few years ago, didn't I?
You had when I
And I even helped my dad get in wood.
I see.
Used to off there at the saw where we blew saw, I guess you call it. I was the off bearer. I throwed it back. Help haul it in.
I see.
when that storm went through the woods, she helped me cut all them up in the wood, all them trees. We
Well.
cut about 200 cords.
About how many trees would that take in?
Boy, I never counted them. Just a strip plumb through the wood.
I see. Well, we've talked about many things, and now we want to get to the subject of your school and more or less general education. Mr. Dixon, what school perhaps did you attend, and how far did you go in your general education as far as schooling?
Let's see. I think at first I went to school at French Lick. Then we moved out in the country. I didn't go for just a little while, maybe. They called it perimeter then.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved out in the country. Then I went to that number 4 school down there by Lightner Lane down there by French Lick.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Then we moved to Glass Rock down here, and I went to that Newberry school a little while. They were right down on 150.
Mm-hmm.
We went down to Northwest Township. There wasn't no school down. We didn't have to go, and that's pretty good about that. But and then we come back up here to number 4,
Mm-hmm.
and I stayed to that till I was in 7th and 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in October I'd have been 16. I thought the teacher was pretty good. She asked me, was I going to quit when I was 16? I said, yes, as soon as I was 16. She told me I didn't have to go the rest of the time. Now, that was pretty handy. I really felt good about that, you know. So that was into my school. And that is, I learned a lot after that. But
I see. Then most of your general education was after 16 years old, huh? How did you receive or obtain your general education?
Huh?
Your general education, you said you quit school when you were 16. No doubt you've learned many things since then.
Oh, yeah, I learned a lot since then.
Well, how did you learn these things?
Hard way, you might say. I just studied everything out and learned myself.
I see.
Of course, I was just in 7th and 8th when I quit, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I just learned as I fought the battle of life. I'd learned all the way through, you know.
Mm-hmm. I see.
If I see something didn't know about, I'd have to study on it maybe 15, 20 minutes before I get the hang of it, and then I'd go ahead and do it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the way a mechanic, when I started working on the cars, first old Model T got, I never looked under the hood.
Hmm.
When it went bad, I studied it out and I fixed everything on it, and never did hire nobody to work on it.
Is that right? Then you didn't have no one to train you in the...
No, I had to do it myself.
I see. So it was more or less self-training.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite an accomplishment.
See, when the band went out of it, I thought that was a mystery.
Hmm.
I figured that out, and that little plate was too small to take them out of at that time on them old ones. And I'd take the whole hog's head off of that and get them bands and put them in there, but I saw how they went and put them in there. And then later on in the years, you know, why they made them quick changeable. You can take that plate off, and they had one of them forks with a hook over there. You take it off and then slide them around. But you had to do it the hard way, them old ones come out. But nobody knowed. Wasn't nobody I could ask to tell how it was. I figured it all out myself.
I see. Hmm. You used a term there that perhaps many people are not familiar with, a hog's head. Now,
Well, we call that the hog's head. You know, old Model T Ford had them 3 pedals, the clutch and the reverse and brake. And then the clutch and it was high and low too as far as I'm concerned. But where them pedals set in there, there's a big outfit that bowl plumb around all this is sitting in there, so I had to take that whole thing out. We always call it hog's head.
I see.
When you took that way, you took his plate out and loosened them springs and slipped that whole thing off of them 3 brake shoes in there, and so put them back in and go back the same way. Of course, you had to take starting off thing off to do all that, but
I
anyhow,
see.
I figured all that out.
Any particular reason why you call it a hog's head, though?
Well, I don't know whether I named it or that was already the name of it.
Well, that's an unusual name, of course. Mrs. Dixon, we want to talk in regard to your schooling and, of course, general education. So, if you would like to share with us in your experience of school.
I ain't got much to talk about, I don't reckon.
Well, you tell us where you went to school, of course. And
Oh, I went over in Southeast Township, number 9, and then in the 5th grade I started 6th grade. We made the move in 1921. We moved out of Southeast over in Paoli, and there was one more month of school over there than there was here. When it started in out here, there wasn't but 9 or maybe 10 scholars. And there wasn't nobody in the 6th grade, which I was supposed to be in, so they didn't have time fool but me to put me on up in the 7th. They were 2 in the 7th. So I got on okay like that, and I went 2 years here and then 1 over to high school. So after they let me jump that 1 year, well, Ralph Flemings and Beverly Nadell were the 2 up ahead of me. And he skipped the 8th grade and went on to high school. And that made it awful hard, though. I didn't have no history until I was in that 7th grade. Hadn't even seen a history book. That made that awful hard to get.
Of course.
And the main reason I quit high school, I just could not take Latin.
I see. Was it required?
It was required, but they quit it the very next year.
I
If
see.
I'd have been 1 year later, I would went through, I think. But I just couldn't get that Latin. And I quit then because I was old enough to quit. But I've always regretted it.
Well, of course, you received more general education after you quit school, of course, hadn't you?
Yeah.
And how did you attain your general education, let's say?
I don't know. I think I learned things just helping the kids get their lessons
I see.
all the way along.
That's good. That's good.
I forgot to tell you, all that lumber and log hauling, that was team. It wasn't trucks or nothing like that.
No.
Hoarded.
Okay, we've talked about school and general education. Now we want to talk about sports participation. What kind of sports did you have in grade school, Mr. Dixon?
When I was going to school,
When you going to school, yes,
oh, we just played baseball. A reset, you know, and that's about all the sport we had down in school.
What about in the wintertime? What kind of sports participation?
Well, we skate on ice and bobsled in the fields and snow.
I see.
When we wasn't hunting fur or something, muskrats or something like that.
I'm sure they didn't have a gymnasium like we have in our high schools today, did they?
Huh?
They didn't have gymnasiums.
No,
What?
all gymnasiums, all outdoors there. Even teachers get out there and play baseball with us.
Okay, you were playing baseball in the hot summertime, or
Well, we just played that mostly when we didn't go.
well?
When in the hot summertime, we worked the mills and
Oh, I see.
and on there.
I see.
All the entertainment we had much is on Sunday when they'd be maybe 15, 20 on ride horses through the country.
Oh, I see. Did you enjoy that type of sports participation? I see.
Yeah, I couldn't afford a saddle, but and I could sit up there bareback like, and I could jump on. I could have one going down the field just as hard as they go. I could jump off on the ground and on their backs and
Is
on
that
the other
right?
side. And I got all kinds of shots.
Huh.
Cause you see, why I started riding horses, I guess, when I was about 6 years old, I reckon.
Is that right? Huh.
And then of course, I was with horses all after that. You on the head up to. Well, I still had horses for several years after we got married, you know. But that's about all we.
What about sports today? Are you interested in sports today?
I don't know whether I am or not, Hardy. I don't play.
You like to play cards? That's a sport.
Yeah, I guess I like to play cards pretty well.
How about perhaps just picking up a fishing pole and going down to the lake down here?
Of course, before we retired, you know, when we were working all the time, you know, away from home, Me and Lois had plenty of time to go fishing. We just fish every chance we got. That's a retard. We ain't never had time to go fishing.
Boy,
Pitch horseshoe. I used to pitch horseshoe. When even working at noon hours, we'd pitch horseshoe. I know me and my friend down there at French Lick, we'd work in the daytime and then we'd meet at night and pitch horseshoe. It got so dark, we couldn't see the horseshoe. We'd
So
take a piece of paper and put it on the peg to pitch by, and then I told him, I said, I believe I got some hang how we can pitch a little later. He said, we caught some lightning bugs and tied them on them poles, on them stakes every time we played horseshoe for an hour or two with them lightning bugs. Don't
is that right? Huh.
Of course, we didn't know just how many ringers it got till we hadn't counted.
So you were, if I can use the word term, heavy in horseshoes then?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, I got there for a few years. I liked to bowl.
Oh, you did some bowling?
Yeah.
I see. What kind of average did perhaps you carry, and how old were you when you were bowling?
Well, you know, when you come up here and we all started to bowl, and I think that was my first round, you know.
I see.
Oh, I just average feller. That's about all. I wasn't no expert.
Did you enjoy this type of sport?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
And then when Bud was in that league, I was in there a while, but time I got home from work and do up my work, why, I'd have to hustle to get to go to bowling out, and I went to quit the league. I ain't bowled any now for years. I got to get the gutters down.
I see. Mrs. Dixon, what about your sports participation? What sports did you play in school?
Well, I got out in all them ball team games playing baseball. That's about the only game we had. Oh, when the snow was on, well, I've slid down that hill right out here many a time towards this spring when Peyton's lived here. And a whole bunch of us get on the sled and down the hill we go.
So schools back at that time didn't have much sports
Not
participation.
We had to go, to get our water, we'd have to take the water bucket and go down to our spring, or over on the other side to Miss Andrews and get the water and bring up. There'd always be one or two of us go after water every day. And then the winter time, we just got that one stove sitting in the back, and if it's a real cold day, we just take our books and sit around the stove here and study. Then go up in front to have our class, you know.
I see. Then you didn't have central air conditioning and central heating.
Well, I don't guess you'd call it that.
we had them old pot-belly stoves, too, and had to carry water that way.
What did you use to heat the building?
Well,
What type of fuel?
start out with wood, but after they kind of got up in there, they got using coal, you know, after kind of got up higher up in the bracket.
Oh, I
They
see.
used coal, but to start with, just no wood stove.
2 or 3 of my teachers are still living.
Is that right?
Over
That's
live over
amazing, isn't
town.
What kind of sports do you enjoy today, Mrs. Dixon?
Well, I'll say I don't know. Just sit down and sew a little bit when I feel like it, or read a story, and
Well, you like
That's
to fish.
about all.
You like to fish, don't you?
if I didn't have to walk up and down the hill. That's a little too much for me nowadays.
Okay.
But I do kind of like to fish.
Anything else that comes to your mind that you like to do in the way of perhaps sports?
I like to go shopping once in a while.
I see.
Don't like that too
That-
much anymore because I can't take it all day.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, because when we go shopping today, sometimes it's a sport because it's a contact sport with all the people in the store. I can
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, now we want to get down to another question. I want to ask you both, where did you meet?
That was right on my mind to tell you.
Okay, good.
So I will get to do it, huh?
You can do it, yes.
Well, it was a blind date.
A blind date.
It was on a Saturday night. I was going over to my cousin to stay all night, and she had made the date, Mabel Flores. And so I lived out there where Norfolk is. And I remember he stopped, and it was raining, and we drove to West Baden and back. It was just raining so hard you couldn't hardly see. And he let me drive that night, and I'd never had a whole steering wheel.
Is that right?
You tell him I can't get what to drive.
How come I didn't want to?
Well, to start with, I asked her did she ever drive. She didn't know. I said, well, you going to learn? No, she couldn't learn. I just let go the steering wheel. I said, you either going to drive or let her off the road. She grabbed that steering wheel.
I think he pushed a lot of times, though. He hadn't pushed me under that steering wheel.
I see.
Oh, you didn't do too bad.
Oh, boy, it was raining so hard, though. The first several dates we had, we dated steady then for 10 months, and we got married. But for several dates, he didn't come in. He'd just take me to the door and leave right quick. I don't know
I see.
whether he met Mom and Pop for a while or not.
I don't remember that part of it.
Oh, Lord.
Well, sometimes it's best not to remember some things.
Yeah.
It troubled me when I was courting her. I'd have to be working at 7 o'clock, and I couldn't, when I stayed about 9 or 10 o'clock, and then drive about 15 miles, why, I had to really take a little nap, so I could get started to work again.
I see. What kind of roads did you have to drive over? You were talking about drive.
Well, to start with, 150, and this out here was just old gravel road,
Oh, I see.
and even gravel around the courthouse over there. And I lived down French Lick, so it was about 14 miles altogether from here down there.
You see.
Oh, well, I want to tell you about a little job I had. I forget what he was making. It wasn't much, sawmill, but one summer when the rush was on from the Derby, well, they'd hire people over to the laundry. And I worked to help do the ironing for 10 hours a day all through that busy season. 15 cents an hour.
15 cents an hour.
I made $1.50. I wanted to work long enough to get me a sewing machine. I just couldn't stand it. I didn't have a sewing machine. And I made enough to buy it. Ordered it out of the catalog.
I was foreign union, I just getting 35.
Yeah. Well, I was doing good to make that then, wasn't I?
How old were you when you met? Let's look at that
Well,
facet of the.
I was 20, and I know how old she was, but she can tell you how old she was.
Well, I was 17, and I was old enough to go get married, and
I
he
see.
wasn't.
I thought you was 18.
I was when we got married,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he said when we met.
Yeah.
How did you get along on your first date, or was it more or less just a attraction at first sight, or what do you think?
You're asking him.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she was an angel myself, but I didn't see no, I didn't see no wings, but
I see.
I don't know what she thought about me.
Mabel and his brother Joe was with us.
Oh, I see.
I think, now let me see how that was. Mabel was with Joe, and she had to get, Ed had a car and Joe didn't, so she had to hunt somebody to go with Ed. So she called me up, and that was the bunch.
Well,
But Joe and Mabel didn't go with us for a time or two.
Oh, I see. Did they go with you on the first date? Is that?
They went with us on the first date. I know what knocked that on the head.
Did they go as chaperones or what?
We're the oldest. We must have been chaperoning them.
I see.
well, I
But
got,
Mabel's sister tried to beat her time on Joe, and
Oh, I
and
see.
I didn't like her sister, so
I see. So
we
there's
went by ourselves the next time.
a little friction there then, so you just went by yourself the next time. I bet it was much better, wasn't it?
well, we
Oh,
had
I forgot.
we had a rock crusher wasn't too far from Purse's down there up at Marshall's place. That's how I come at the we knowed them pretty well.
Oh, I see. He worked at the rock crusher?
Yeah, they worked in rock crusher
I
at that
see.
time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so.
Did he ever run out of gas?
He had a lot of flat tires. We went down to his sister's down Shoals, and he always liked to go down there, and we did. That's a big, long, nice ride, you know. And Mabel and Paul was with us that time. And then hill we went up. Anyway, before we got home, there'd been 5 flat tires.
But you know, I was working down in Louisville, and I bought 5 new tires while I was down there. And then the lousy tires that wouldn't had all that trouble with going to Shoals. 3 field Shoals, I don't know why. Of course, I don't gravel road, you know, them rocks is pretty rough on them, but
Yeah.
if I'd left my old tires on, I wouldn't felt so bad. But them new ones I bought and put on there.
You were sharing with us a while ago, Mrs. Dixon, that he would bring you home after the date and just seemingly just disappear. And I didn't want to get too deep in this, but we was wondering, of course, perhaps you'd like to share with the people when he first kissed you.
Oh, gee, that first night.
The first night?
Oh, yeah, he got brave enough to kiss me that first night.
He stayed a little long enough to kiss, and then you run away, right?
Yeah, I don't know whether he kissed me after we got over to the door or not, but
Oh, I
he
see.
did kiss me.
Oh, I see.
Always down to Mabel's that night, though.
Oh. Mm.
It's a wonder ain't Daddy hadn't run us off.
Mr. Dixon, do you have anything to add to what your wife has said?
No, I don't know about me just letting her off and run, but I guess I did. I guess I did if that's what she said.
Well, you might have not run, but you walked in the door and then didn't go in.
Gentleman-like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, that's the kind of way you ought to do when you,
Yeah,
you
that's
had
right.
to kind of ooze into it, you know.
Yeah.
Then I got so, they pretty much had to chase me
Yeah,
off.
they did.
Chase you off?
You don't want, no, she never chased me off. But it was up late that night, and then I early and worked the whole blessed day at the mill,
Mm-hmm.
and long about the 9 or 10 o'clock, I dozed off. When I woke up, she had my hair plaited. I just losing too much sleep. Well, you don't do like you do now. When you worked in the mill, by Jack, you worked in the mill 10, 12 hours a day, and all the time you get stopped at noon, didn't get them 5-minute rest period. Of course, I fired, and then I had a cut-off saw. When you wasn't firing all them slabs, you was cutting that wood up with all them slabs. I thought, you never run out of anything to do.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, my fault cutting them slabs. The guy that had over there far to start with, he just fought that far all the time and couldn't hold steam.
Hmm.
And then after they hired me, why, of course, I you know, well, I was 6 years old, foreign the border, you know how I was all about. I got a foreign, and he come around and said, you just ain't got nothing to do, you just keep that popping off all the time. I said, yeah, I didn't got much to do. So then I started firing and cutting all that wood up there. And I fired and kept the wood all cut up and threw it back. You know, they cut this wood. You cut wood the length of the boiler, maybe about 4 or 5 foot long, and then you cut short wood for stoves, you know,
I
stove
see.
wood for stoves. But it didn't bother me any that time. Because I keep fire up and cut that wood too. But when that weld hired me down there, he come up in and hired me to go down there to George Charles mill up there.
Okay.
Emmett Bulletin went on the mill. He wanted me to come down there. He said, they can't hold the farm, want you to come down there. I said, oh, you have to do that. I went down to Far Dainton, and I could just keep steam up my water in the boiler all the time. And he come up there and he said, say, you ain't got much to do, have you? He said, I want you to come down and cut wood. I said, what'd you hire me for to start with? I said, didn't you tell me just fire this thing in the boiler and I wouldn't go down and cut wood? Yeah, but she said, you ain't got to do it up here. I said, no, you can go down and cut the wood. I'm going to stay up here before I didn't go down and cut the wood.
Okay. Okay.
So
What-
that's a way that way.
What do you believe was the most memorial moment in your courtship? Just thinking back while you were going courting, what do you think is the most memorial moment? Besides the flat tires.
Oh. I was trying to figure out what that moral was there.
Something that
I ain't know
really,
that good or bad.
really stands out as you know,
What'd you say?
something that really stands out that you just vividly in your mind.
I don't know. Can't you help me figure that out?
Well, I'm sure we had several of them, but I
I see.
can't pick on one right now.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
You guess.
You done all right just to figure out something. I don't even remember anything hardly.
Well, I've had so many I don't know how to name them.
I
It's
see.
always given me a good thrill to see the kids go climbing the school bus in the morning.
I see.
Such as that. Some people wouldn't think it, but it did.
Okay, perhaps you would like to share with us where you first lived after you got married.
Oh,
Well,
we stayed out with our folks a little bit.
Yeah.
Mom was sick, and I went got ahead and done all the work around there and waited on her. And then in a few months, he was working for his dad at that. No, you worked for your dad a little later, didn't you?
yeah, I worked for him.
And then we went out to his dad's and stayed a little bit. And then we thought we had to save every dollar before we'd go to housekeeping. We were working our way, in other words, where we were with them. And first day of March, I believe, Ed's sister sold us a couch and chair and a library table for $25, and we went down to get them.
That's
And we
down
picked us
Louisville.
up a bed along the way.
Down at Louisville?
Uh-huh. I think the other sister sold us a bed. Anyway, we had enough money now to buy this furniture, and we went to housekeeping right down there by the schoolhouse upstairs at his grandma's.
Where
he
was this
still-
at?
In French Lake.
In French Lick?
Or, you know where Paoli live right in there beside of Doc Beatty's right in there.
Yeah, Doc Betty was our next door neighbor there.
I see.
And we lived there, and Paul, and the day we went out there to live, Paul and Ed, Paul and Joe come with us. They lived with us for a year or better after we went to housekeeping. And we moved back to Paoli in the meantime. Lived over there about a year or so. Wound up right here, next door neighbor to where I was brought up.
Well, how come we moved, frankly?
And there was a depression time when we came back out.
Yeah, and Dad, children up there, you know, the mother that died, and he wanted us to move down there and most take care of the kids and send them to school.
That was Arthur, that's his youngest brother, first year in school, and Lethe the third. I'd go with him to school the first day and see about their books, and then I visited them different times.
But Jim going to school? No, he's staying up.
Jim was up St. Ellis.
Okay.
I made some of Lethe's and Arthur's clothes that they wore to school.
Now, you shared with us before that all your children was born in the house, in this home, except one.
Bill was born out.
I see, okay. When was
That
when was your first child born and when?
When?
Where and when, yes.
Well, 1930. And it was about 9 o'clock in the morning on a Good Friday.
Good Friday. I didn't want you to miss that.
Yeah,
Out at your
out at my grandmother's, out at my mother's.
your mother's home, okay.
She was out in the yard walking up and down, and Miss Lindsay was with me. I can remember the day well. The doctor come and he'd sit there and went to sleep.
Then, when did you move to this
Bill,
home?
Now let me see.
We bought this in 31.
Right
Just,
after,
well, about a year later, we
right
stayed out
after
there.
your first child was born then?
Yeah. And then we've been here ever since 30.
I see, Then progressively, the children, more children came along, and
There's a few come along.
what are some of the crazy things, perhaps, that the children did? You know,
Oh, gee.
perhaps you could think of something that was something crazy or
Well, they were all just little angels. I don't think they ever done a thing out the way.
I know. I come in home.
Oh, yes. One time we was out in the garden, hoeing way back there in that field. I don't know where we had some strawberries or something out there. Looked up on top of the house, and there was Ruth on a ladder. I could see clear over top of the house. And this ladder was out here on this. That back porch used to be a cistern, and there wasn't nothing, no roof over it. And that ladder was sitting there. And I flew to the house right quick. Kept a hollering for her to hold tight, hold tight. Went up that ladder after her. Now, there was some other type places like that, but I can't think. You think of one?
Well, I come in.
Oh, I know the one about Bill now.
I come in one time from work, and Lois out in the yard and out there with them weeds. Well, she jumping up that high, and I couldn't figure what was after her. Well, Bill had slipped away from me, you know.
I see.
And she'd look for him and thought maybe he went on home. He didn't. So I went away down in Bartley's woods. And
And I'd been up down that hill at the spring a time or two, I think.
I got away down in them deep woods down there, and I met him down there. He just looking around, you know, and he didn't even know he's lost.
Well, he had the hammer,
Yeah, yeah.
carrying it with him.
Had a hammer in his hand, you know. And we come back home, but well, she was tickled to see him. Of course, I was tickled to find him down there in the woods. Too.
Oh, Lord. Scared us to death.
And then we had a bunch of, I don't know why, they just always raised chickens, you know, and had a bunch of roosters. And I don't know why. They were the meanest roosters. I was out there plowing the garden. Some of the kids went out there, and I looked out there, and 3 of them roosters just flogging them, all there was to it. I had a team out there. I stopped the team right quick. I was afraid he'd pick their eyes out. There's 3 of them out there. I just rushed down and got a rooster and put my foot on his head and yanked the head off, pulled the heads off. All 3 of them roosters and pinned them out and told the kids to go tell mother to fry 'em. I thought it better do that with them. Them roosters, they can put their eyes out.
Yeah, sure.
But then we raised a lot of chickens, but the roosters didn't fight. Just every once in a while you hit a bunch where them roosters are fighting, you know.
Wonder why that is.
Well, I don't know. I know one time when they had chickens down there, Bill Eckerberger, he come down there and wanted to see something, a cow or something. Of course, I know that rooster because some of them was fighting, you know. And I told Bill, I said, it might just pay to walk around that rooster. Now, he laughed, said, I'd like to see a rooster make me walk around him. Old Bill went up there to kick him. That rooster come up there and brought them furs right down his chin. And she had the head bridges and scratched his leg. And Bill looked at, you know, maybe I had better walked around. Yeah, he'd like to see a rooster make him walk around.
Yeah.
Of course, I know what the old roosters do. That's the reason I told him. I didn't want him to get crashed up. But I don't know. Maybe you raise 500 chickens, and there won't be any fight, and then you raise a bunch. I think all the roosters want to fight.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't
Here's
either.
another little chore that I used to do quite often before I go to school. I used to have set snares for rabbits.
Set snares for rabbits.
Yeah, and when we lived out there, and I run out back in Opal's field here to my snares different time to get my rabbits before I go to school. That was before I began going with him.
Did you have to check the snares each day?
If you had time, you
Yeah,
did.
I see. Okay, we've talked about many things, of course, and we want to talk about your first house. Is this the first house as far as purchasing a home? Okay, I'd like to know.
Well, we started to build. They started to buy one old duck.
Yeah, but we didn't buy it.
No, but I just want to tell a little story about it.
Okay.
We lived in a dandy house over there. Come home, her dad was over there and wanted to buy a little house up there at the schoolhouse. It's a nice looking little house. Boy, we moved up there. And when I come in from work and going up there to the car, it rained. By jinx, I couldn't get up to the car. Got up there and she had pans over every one of the things. Boy, the next day I jinked, I horsed around and moved. I moved away from there.
Okay, that was a bad experience for you, no doubt.
And this was the next one we bought, but we lived in different places though before we
Okay.
got out here.
Now, when did you move into this home? This one here,
About 31.
1931. Well, share with us perhaps the general condition of the home when you moved in.
Well, I'll tell you, the floor wasn't underpinned. Floor had big cracks in it. You didn't have to sweep the dust out the door. All she had to do just sweep up them cracks and fix it down there. And then she put rugs over the floor, you know, just them throw rugs. I know one time the wind was blowing pretty hard, and there wasn't nothing on that rug there. It was on the floor that high this way. And you had a stove, you know. So well, we had it right there, but well, to start with, the flue was over here. The belt over there. And you take them there in winter time, no insulation, nothing, you know, on it. And then no underpin, nothing. Of course, no basement on it. I'd sit over there. You sit over there reading till you just about froze out, and then you get up here and turn around 2 or 3 times around that stove to get warm, then go back and sit down. And of course, we had water buckets and didn't have no electricity, you know. Wasn't no electric here.
I see.
Well, we forget and leave we had them dippers, them metal dippers in the water bucket. If you left and leave it in the water bucket, well, you'd have to take a knife and cut it out of the ice because you never get it out of the bucket next morning. That's in the kitchen. That's the good old days, I guess.
Good old days.
Well, there wasn't no front porch, only just the porch part, and there wasn't these 2 rooms back here wasn't here.
I see.
Just these 2 in the kitchen, and that little room where the bathroom is.
Yeah, this here was something else, but we got to get it though, in one way. We had owned anything.
How did you keep warm at night during the winter if it was so cold?
Well,
I made a lot of comforts.
Yeah, the colder it got, you
They
just had
piled
another
on
field there. I was used to that, you know, when I was
I see.
growing up at the mill camps, you know, where Dad
see.
moved sawmill. If he built a house himself, it'd be warm because he'd put sawdust in there like insulation. But when you live in one of them houses down there, I know one morning it snowed. Of course, we slept with the head covered up.
Right.
And it snowed all over the quilt. And I'm telling you, when I went through that barefoot, I had to go through one room to get the front room. I didn't leave no time to see my tracksuit. That's enough. I really be in the front room where that sofa. But out of said you, Coder got this out another quilt instead of another log, you know, just out another quilt. So that them old houses that you had there when they put a mill camp there, you know, why, you was out of luck if you see an old house there, but if you know they had to build one, why, he started insulation, you know, way before that, years ago. When he built them them houses, you know, he'd put 2x4 in here and seal it up inside and outside, and then fill all them walls full of sawdust. Then the floor would be up off of the ground.
I see.
And you fill all that with sawdust and leave a board loose there on the floor, and just wintertime just reach down and get a can of fruit out of that sawdust. You know pretty well where this was. Well, they were pretty warm, you know.
Sure.
No wind blowing.
I see.
Not like them like this old house there now. So that's some more of them good old days. I still like them old. I'll never forget when one of the younger boys, he just had a croup every night, you know. So Dad would rub that skunk grease on his throat, you know. You know, when we always kill skunks and skin them, and learned that lard and rubbed on his throat. That helped him out some. One day, he looked out the door. It was cold in the wintertime. He sneaked around and pulled off his shoe and little skips of snow on. And he's out there on that ice barefoot, and it broke. It wasn't over about that deep, and he was down there in that water, that ice water through that ice. And they said, well, he'll die for the croup. Said he won't live for morning. And by that, you know, that night he never even had the croup. When he went out there barefoot. Yeah, little old things like that, I guess fella always think I'm right.
Sure. Sure. Mrs. Dixon, of course, your husband has shared with us some things here in regard to the house here. Perhaps you have some things that you would like to add in regard to your first home.
Oh, I think he pretty well covered it.
I see.
I forgot to tell you, them ceilings was about 10 foot high, and that,
Oh, the ceilings in your home here was 10 foot high?
yeah. Well, it could have been 9.
about
but,
taking
I mean, and all the heat from that stove
Well.
would go up there, and it'd be burning you up there and freeze down.
Okay.
Of course,
Oh,
what'd you say?
I was going to tell him about the bathtub we had.
Oh, yes, let's share that with us. That'd be very interesting, I'm sure.
More of them good old days.
Well, you've all seen, I guess you have all seen a tub that you wash the board in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was our bathtub. We always started in with the youngest till we got through with all of them. Every Saturday night,
And that,
at least.
have that big old round tubs, you know, and we got a little higher up, and we got us one of that big long galvanized tub.
I
That's where
see.
we took a bath. We lived when we got that long one there. Well, that's all we know, you know.
Did you make your own soap, or
I have.
have made your own soap, of course? Would you share with us the ingredients you used?
Or I about forgot.
Well,
Lime. It run through ashes, didn't it?
yeah,
some
them
of 'em?
wood ashes.
I just about forgot how to do it.
And then you take a lard that's forked, you know.
Yeah, cracklings.
I see.
Make the grease. And it's not very funny.
You cook? Would you cook this in an over open fire outside?
Yeah, you just put a big old kettle out, boy.
I see. Now, did you use this soap to wash your clothes and
Yeah,
wash your dishes?
have used it for dishes.
And take a bath?
Good. Not hardly. I didn't take no bath with it.
Okay.
That's a powerful soap bowl.
Of course, you've talked to us in regard to some of the jobs that you've done, some type of work have you done, but can you think of other types of work perhaps that you didn't think of at the time we were talking about that you would like to share with us?
Who, me?
Well, both of you in general, yes.
Of course, I told you I worked at the garage 16 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I worked at the chair factory. Then I went to Louisville and worked on the peddling wagon, you know. I don't know what I told you that night.
No.
And I worked in the United States Shoe Factory.
Mm-hmm.
That peddling wagon, I wasn't too crazy about that. You get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go up and market, and with a team, you know, and they buy all that stuff and then take it out and peddle it.
Mm-hmm.
They'd have stacks of rabbits, you know, when they'd kill the rabbits and just gut them, you know, and they'd have them stacked high as this room here, and you just bought all the rabbits you wanted. When I first went up there, well, I stayed in the wagon. I'm telling you, it was crowded up there. They had me to move that wagon, I don't know how many times, a team. But that's the only time I had to. The next time, when I went up there the next morning, I stayed just away from them so I could see it. They say, wonder whose wagon that is. I wouldn't have no idea, but I always kept my eye on it. I didn't have to move the wagon anymore. But I was up on the market, and then you'd go,
I see.
you know, go take that all through the city.
Mm-hmm.
I wore overalls, and I took one side of the street, and brother-in-law took the other. And I went up in the back door and always had vegetables and stuff like that. And some woman squalled out and said, we don't want any. Somebody had give her a bunch of rotten stuff the day before that. The old man was sitting in the window, and I just happened to see him getting up there, and he called her by name and says, you know who you squalled out to? She said, no, a little country boy. Land, she sailed out to the back door, and all the time I was down there, they'd buy stuff, and men wouldn't buy from even Bill, the one on the vegetable wagon. They'd buy that stuff from me.
Okay, with all the jobs that perhaps you've types of work that you did, what do you feel is the most rewarding to you? Which did you enjoy the most?
Well, working that airplane factory is pretty sure. You made good money, but you had to stay away from home. That was a bad part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the mill right there, me and Paul both were.
Mhm.
And then, tell you the truth, I don't know just exactly where I just really enjoyed it.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I see. Mrs. Dixon, any particular job that you've held that you feel was the most rewarding or most satisfying?
No, I can't think of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it when I was working, but I never did work any until the kids all
Mm-hmm.
was away from home. I never would trust them to come home from school and build a fire.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing some house cleaning whenever. I'd go after they got gone to school and then come home before they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed doing that, but
I
it just
see.
hurried me to get back and do my work and do that. And got 50 cents an hour for it.
50 cents an hour. Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting here thinking about, we used to raise chickens. If we wanted a chicken, we had to get out and kill it and then pick it and do everything from scratch. We used to kill the hogs and butcher them,
Mm-hmm.
and the beef. Quite different nowadays.
When old children told me, I think I'd have killed 6 of them hogs
6, 7 hogs.
during the winter. You know, that would be 9 of us there, you know, to eat. You don't have a table full.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Of course, we've talked about your children, but I'm sure they're married, and perhaps you have grandchildren, perhaps great-great-grandchildren, and you'd like to share with us just how many relatives you have from your children.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not counted lately. 14. There must be about 20 great-grandchildren by now.
You have 20 great.
I believe it's right around there.
I think it's a little over that.
The
Oh.
great-grandchildren.
They slew them.
Well, now, we got 2
Oh, great.
and just 1 so far this year. And I don't know.
Maybe
It's,
I
it's
think-
in the neighborhood of 20.
Well,
And
yeah.
14,
Mm-hmm.
15.
Okay.
Counting Becky, is 15 now of the grandchildren.
Uh-huh.
I think. Now, I could be wrong on this, but
I
that's
could
pretty
be.
well it.
I see. Mm-hmm. When
And
you,
I love them every one.
I see. When you first got married, did you plan on having let's say, 7 children?
Well,
Or had you said-
when I was a kid and bragging around what I'm going to do when I get married, I said a house full of kids, and I didn't really think it, but kind of turned out that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Boy,
What are some things that you would like to see come to pass in your lifetime, perhaps? What would you like to see come to pass? Something that would happen, that you would like to see happen during your lifetime, Mr. Dixon?
You answered that.
Oh, well, he said Mr., I think.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
But
go
I'd
ahead.
like to
Oh, you
say,
talking about me.
Either one of you, Jefferson.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. I thought she was getting ready to know.
I'd like to see peace to the world.
I
Seems to
see.
me like
Mm.
things is in bad shape.
Well, that's a tremendous.
I'd really like to see all the children happy and healthy,
Mm-hmm.
not get no trouble.
Yeah, that's another good point.
Well, that's something that, of course, we would all like to see.
Yeah.
All that have children.
You know, I wouldn't have thought I'd been sitting here this long, blowing.
Well, I bet we wore his tape out.
Oh, yeah.
Going real fast.
Okay, we want to talk about now some things perhaps
I
that
can wiggle around, yeah.
some things that you still want to do in your lifetime. Mr. Dixon, what would you like to do
I think he'd like to travel.
in your lifetime.
Oh, she the one like that.
Would you like to go to Las Vegas or someplace like that?
No,
Grand Canyon?
she would, but not me. She said we ain't been nowhere, and I think I
Okay.
counted about 18 different states we've been in. She'd lucky get me in that many, you know.
We went through them so fast I didn't see nothing.
Well, we stayed a week on a lot of them.
Oh, well.
Sure.
Yeah, that's right. Did you hear that?
What?
We went on our first honeymoon, forgot to take our clothes
yeah.
with us.
That was something else. We put in bedroom in 9 suitcases.
Uh-huh.
I did take my razor, and she had a whole bunch of stuff cooked up, fried chicken, pie, and stuff like that. I carried that all down the car, you know. And we was way down there, and just before we got the Tennessee border in there, we stopped that there. When he did, she said, "Would you reach in the suitcase? I hadn't had nothing." I said, "What suitcase?" And we forgot it. I thought I had it made. Thought we were going to have to go back home. Oh no, said she'd been waiting so many years for that. We had to go on ahead through that next town we come to. The border and all new outfit. So that was it. We'd gone to Smoky Mountains, wasn't we?
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina.
Okay.
Cut it short.
I was
Okay.
going to do this way a while
So who
ago.
just wanted on the phone?
Lee's just wanting to go to put Virginia to bed. We forgot about putting Virginia.
Why hadn't forgot? Tell her, I'll see her. Tell her I'll see her if she's, well, don't worry about it. She
Here,
knows
let me
I'm
give you
gonna
this and you tell her yourself.
Did you shut it off?
Tell her.
She's not on there. Did you hang up?
You gonna tell her?
Tell her I'll be there. Liz,
You're all right.
she's not on there.
Well, I think he's about through with that anyhow.
Yeah, it won't be long. Come on.
Almost done.
Almost done. Okay. Perhaps you would like to...
I'd forgotten about doing this.
Is there anything else that you would like to do in your lifetime? Let's say travel. For yourself.
Question.
Oh, me?
Yeah, for yourself. Uh-huh.
You already been telling her that.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to travel anymore. I got that. She ain't got started with herself.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
Why,
okay.
no. I'm not got started.
The only thing about, if you call vacation good where you travel, maybe 1,000 or 1,400 miles,
Mm-hmm.
the only kick you get out of it, getting back home.
Oh, I see.
That really the biggest part of the whole thing. You always hope you'll make it back home. I think we're about shy on. I think we're at Wheaton. I think we're about around 1,200 miles from home. wasn't
At
we?
least that, yes, uh-huh.
Maybe more than that. Yeah.
Just couldn't wait to get back, huh?
No.
I see.
You know, a lot of times we'd take trips, you know, and drive up there in the yard. And I think it's a castle, me, you know.
Mhm.
And she said, yep. I said, what about yep? This is the worst place she saw since she'd left. And here I thought,
Sound like I really like
here I
it.
thought it was a castle.
Okay. What do you predict that perhaps we'll see in the future here in America? You've lived many years, of course, and what do you foresee for America in the future?
Oh, I don't know. I did think maybe they'd have a little old flying machine for everybody to fly around instead of cars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just
Mm-hmm.
maybe individual if that's the way you want to go. But I don't know that will not. But I always figured it'd be like that.
I see.
And it'd be hard to what cars will look like. Maybe a fella lived to be about 20, 30 more years from now. They may not even look nothing like they do now. They may all of them have them jets in them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You can see I hear something a-coming now, it's done gore. But they are, you know, I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to try to cut all the regular gasoline out and just have that the other, because they figure they make 7 cents more than a gallon on it, you know, and that's what they figured. I ain't too crazy about that, because I still got tractor and all that stuff. I'd have to pay 7 cents more than a gallon for it and stuff like that. And it wouldn't help us out any. But I don't know, they talking about that anyhow.
Mr. Dixon, what do you look forward to in the future? Let's say 3-5 years from now.
You talking to me?
I'm talking to your wife.
Oh, good.
I'm just looking at and hoping to still be on my feet if I
I
live
see.
that much longer.
Well, that's
I'll be thankful if
That'd
I'm
be-
up. I can't stand to think about laying in bed, somebody wait on me.
I see.
So that's my big desire.
Okay, good.
I'm like the old fella said, I want to go to heaven when I die, but I ain't no hurry about starting.
Okay, we've covered about everything now. I want to ask you, is there anything that you would want to tell your family and loved ones on this?
He told you, hey?
On this tape,
I don't think he is.
on this tape that we're making.
Uh-huh.
Is there something that you would like to tell your family or loved ones that?
You good at that.
Well, I wish him a lot of health, and I don't know hardly just how I'm wanting to word this.
Just health and happiness, that's about the best part of it.
Hope to see them all again someday. I don't know just how to put this like I'm wanting to.
No, put it the way you want to put it. I know you have some, you know, a daughter and a son, of course, that has gone on, and
Yeah, it was pretty tiresome too, all that.
sure,
I feel bad, but you figure you're going to see him some of these days. So
that's
that helps you out a little bit.
mhm.
Well, Pete, I guess that's about it.
How about those that are still, you know, remaining with you and everything? It's still close, a part of you, and perhaps from your vast experience that you just would like to tell them something that you've learned throughout your years.
He told you, hey?
Yeah.
I'm glad you were sitting there.
Oh, I see. Well, I hope they're all getting out of life what they want to, how they want their life to be,
Sure.
and I want them to all live it as they want to live it,
I see. Mhm.
and I'm for them, one way or the other, however they feel. I'm with them.
I'm sure they know that.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
I'm sure they
hope
know
so.
that. Okay. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking with you today, and I want to thank you very much for allowing us to be a part of your lives for just these few minutes. We just want to thank you.
Yeah,
Well, you're welcome. We've
Yeah.
enjoyed it
Thank you
very
very much.
much.